Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. I know nobody cares about NXT after all the palace intrigue of WWE and all the subtweeting about all the big news you heard, but you can't confirm it. But NXT did have a show. They did their very best to ruin the show, but they had a show on the air, overbooked as all hell, but the show aired. It was from New Year's Evil, so it should have been a big show. Instead, it was convoluted. All right, January 10th, 2023, let's get into it. Okay, so Mandy Rose is on Tamron Hall, which was in the middle of the day. So Mandy Rose is dressed like a proper adult female. She's wearing like everything covering her chest. I think her arms were bare, but that was about it. I would go through a beat by beat sort of review of what she was saying, but here's the Cliff Notes version. That she was showing behind the scenes action on her fan page, and that the content she feels was no different than what she would put up on Instagram. She said there was no full nudity, only implied nudity, similar to the double belt pic that she did for WWE that they reposted on their Twitter. She said the site is still up, and any talk of returning with the condition that she would have to take the site down would require a, quote, conversation. She confirmed that she made $1 million and that she probably could have made that long-term in WWE, but she instead chose to make it short-term on Fan Time. She then also said that there was a confidentiality clause which she signed, and therefore there are some details that she cannot discuss. But ultimately, she said she's very grateful to the fans for their outpouring of support for her. She was gutted, and she felt really down after, being told she was going to lose the titles, because she had put a lot of work in over the last 18 months and felt that it shouldn't have ended that way. But she's also very grateful to the company for the platform, and that never say never on a return. End of story. That's it. Everybody was sitting back chomping at the bit, thinking it was going to be some kind of big expose, and it wasn't. It was just Mandy Rose basically trying to give people the rundown as best she could on what occurred and what kind of content she was selling. I still say you can see nipples on there because people have been stealing her content and posting it. So I don't understand why she went on TV and says, like, look, it's not full frontal noodle. It's not porn. Let's put it like that. But it's still very suggestive. It's not a sort of tasteful nudity. It's like, oh, here's my nipple. Let me cover it up real quick. But yeah, you can see it. And then it was more of that type of stuff. And then, like I said before, there was one where she put her hand in her panties. I mean, I can see why she probably doesn't see it as being a big deal, but she is judging the content that she makes and doesn't see it as being a big deal. But the corporation is also looking at the content that she's making, and they are making it a big deal. Who's the one that's going to make the judgment at the end of the day? Well, that's why you have to separate, because the corporations looks at it and sees you're showing nipple or whatever the case may be. That's too much. While she may say, well, it's completely comfortable, that's fine, and they can't agree on what that would be. Now, do I think WWE will try to make her take it down as a condition of returning? No. Do I think they would try to come up with some kind of happy medium when it comes to content that she can put up? I think the answer to that question will probably be yes. Ultimately, I've always believed Mandy Rose would end up coming back, and I think she will be back by June. She'll probably be back. I'll be surprised if she ends up going somewhere else or if she doesn't return. I'll be surprised. All right. Freddie Prinze Jr. thinks NXT is the worst TV show on the air. He said this about NXT, and he was talking about Impact. He says, I promise you this, sir, I have Access TV. I have that channel, so I don't need to watch YouTube, and you will have my word, I will watch. I know this is going to be better than NXT because ain't nothing in the world worse than that goddamn show. I've given it a chance like once every 6 weeks. I watch a little bit, and it's absolute garbage. It went from my favorite promotion when it was black and gold to unwatchable. Unwatchable. Like a local theater production. The last 2 times I've tried, it was terrible. I don't know. You don't watch the product, but you very firmly have an opinion on the product, which is very strange. But that's what he's saying is in line with with everybody on the internet says and what everybody on the internet thinks. So it's not really that big of a deal. But it's interesting, just one more person thinking they could pile onto NXT. Now, this didn't do me any favors. This show was disjointed and it was overbooked. And to be quite honest, it would have been such a much better show if they'd have booked it straight rather than doing all the stuff that they did. All right, so I'll give you a good example. Example number 1, Dijak defeats Tony D'Angelo. Why? Because Stacks got in the ring telling Tony D'Angelo that he wanted to finish Dijak for him, distracted Tony D'Angelo, and Tony D'Angelo got kicked in the face and pinned. Why not just have Dijak win this match? Why did Stacks get in the ring as if he's some rookie that's never been around a wrestling ring before? Now all of a sudden, I'll take care of it for you, boss. I'll take care of it for you. I go get him. It's like, what the? We're in the middle of something here. Why would you book this? It's stupid. Why would you book this? Why would you book the guy to jump in the ring during the middle of this match? And look, this in itself and wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the rest of the stuff that was on this show that was similar in nature to this. All right. Dijak wins, which I think everybody saw that coming. Poor Tony D'Angelo. Now he's going to probably be separated from Stacks because he's got to beat Stacks up or something for this, right? Stacks has to be punished in some way for screwing Tony D'Angelo out of this match. It's unfortunate, but I really like Tony D'Angelo, but they insist on Dijak. They're insisting on Dijak and literally nobody else. So here we go. All right. Toxic Attraction had a promo backstage where they said it will certainly be one of them who will win the Battle Royal and that Roxanne will pay for what she did to Toxic Attraction. Gigi Dolan says that they are 2 caged beasts who have finally been cut loose. And at the end of the match, you will hear the winners of the Battle Royal is Toxic Attraction, which makes it sound like, oh, that's silly. They think they're going to be able to work together and win. That's silly. Only one person could possibly win. Well, the main event of the show, which is already weird, though, number 1 contender women's Battle Royal. So, Cora Jade is eliminated immediately by Lyra Valkyria, which of course is going to lead to a storyline between the two because Cora Jade kept getting into the ring and kept getting thrown out again. I think it was the second or third time she got thrown out. She tried to trip Lyra Valkyria, who was one of the final 4. The final 4 being Alba Fire, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, and Lyra Valkyria. And she tried to trip her. Lyra Valkyria jumped over her and got knocked off the ring apron. So she cost Lyra the match. Lyra cost her the match. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the feud going forward. I'm okay with that. I like both of them. That ought to be interesting. And I give them credit for resisting going with Cora Jade and Roxanne again for the title. Nikita Lyons was eliminated by Zoe Stark in the most embarrassing way possible because she threw a high kick and her leg got stuck. And then Zoe Stark clotheslined her over the top rope. I feel very comfortable saying that Nikita Lyons must have turned down the casting couch because that's be the only reason why she is continuously being humiliated by Zoe Stark. This has been the most one-sided feud probably in NXT history. She has done literally nothing to harm or derail or defeat or belittle or get any type of retribution on Zoe Stark. She has not beaten her in a match. She has not beaten her up in a backstage segment. She has not cussed her out. She has not done, and she hasn't even eliminated her from a battle royal. She hasn't done anything to Zoe Stark. Nothing. Zoe Stark, for some reason, eats the gold star from Mario whenever fucking Nikita Lyons is around. She just can't beat her. So, whatever. She ended up getting eliminated by Sol Ruka, by that means Zoe Stark. Thought Sol Ruka might get the push. No, she got eliminated too. So the final two were Lacey Jane and Gigi Dolan. And they got it. It was a little hesitant to fight each other at first. And then they just got into it, fighting one another. They got on atop the rope. One threw a headbutt, the other one threw a punch. and they both fell off the top, a la Hitman Lex Luger. The referees, of course, debated who won, who was the real winner of this match, before deciding that it was a double win, and that the women's championship match at Vengeance Day was going to be a triple threat match, which is essentially Roxanne Perez versus Toxic Attraction. And you know what? I am not happy with this. I am not happy. It's such a cop-out to not just pick one of them to wrestle in the match and then have the other one cheat. Come on. You have a ton of other baby faces in the ring. What would it have really bothered you to have Sol Ruka, let's say, toss out JC Jane? And, you know, now Sol Ruka, it has Roxanne Perez's back because Toxic Attraction is going to try to jump her. Or Toxic Attraction jumps Sol Ruka and Roxanne Perez saves her. And that creates a bond between Sol Ruka and Roxanne Perez. And she's got her back in the singles match against Gigi or whatever. Instead, they decided to go with a triple threat match, which is already not a good. Second, they decided it's going to come down to Gigi and JC fighting each other anyway, and then Roxanne Perez rolling up one of the two of them. I could see that finish coming a mile away. I don't like this. I didn't like this battle royal. I didn't like how it was booked. To me, again, it was overbooked. It was, why have two winners? And why let it be two winners? Why not restart the match and somebody's got to go over the top? You know, let's start it all over again. I don't know. Made no sense to me, but then again, I don't get paid the big bucks to write this stuff. I'm only looking at it for what it is. So look, we knew Roxanne was going to win anyway, because it doesn't really make sense to take the title off of her so soon. But to make it so obvious about, it's a triple threat match is pretty silly to me. I mean, my God. Come on. All right. The Creed brothers were supposed to wrestle Indus-Sher on this show. Instead, Sangha comes out, says that Veer isn't there, but he'll fight them alone. The Creed brothers are upset about this because, they say that Veer doesn't respect them enough to even show up. As they were talking, Jinder Mahal jumped them from behind, and they commenced to beat the hell out of the Creed brothers. Jinder Mahal got on the microphone and then said, Veer and Sangha fight for respect, but I don't. Later, Sangha is confronted by Valentina Feroz, who said that, asked him, is this what we're about? Attacking people from behind and all this kind of stuff. To which she's told, yeah, that's, this is between me and my brothers. This is about respect. This is what we do. Then it was announced kind of out of nowhere that Jinder Mahal was going to wrestle Julius Creed. So Julius Creed is getting ready for this match because this is what he wants. He wants to do this, and Ivy Nile says, well, you should be with your brother in this trying time. He just got his ass kicked. Julius Creed is like, nope, ain't no getting past this. There is no moving on. I'm going to have a match with these guys. So after the NXT Championship match, match 5 on the show, Jinder Mahal defeats Julius Creed as Sangha distracts the referee, which gave also Julius Creed, giving Jinder Mahal the advantage. So Jinder Mahal wins with the Colossus. It was probably one of Jinder Mahal's better matches because Julius Creed is really good. I didn't really understand. Look, I don't know if maybe Veer or Brutus was injured, or maybe one of them were sick, or whatever the case may be. But I was okay with them jumping them earlier and, bringing Jinder Mahal into the group. I think that's fine. Having Jinder Mahal with Indus-Sher is perfect. It kind of fits. The point that I'm looking at here is, why go through with beating Julius Creed? I guess he had to take an L anyway. Because I figured Indus-Sher was going to win this match anyhow. But having Julius Creed lose to Jinder Mahal on the same night that they got jumped, I don't know. To me, it seemed like it was rushed and not well thought out. I can only guess that somebody got hurt or somebody got sick, and that led to this. But it still felt like it was very rushed. But I like Julius Creed. The kid's got a future. He's got to work on his promo. His promo is still a little stilted, but he seems to be, a very athletic, very strong, has a good fundamentals for the business. I like the storyline with Ivy Nile, where she's constantly arguing with these guys about, where they focus should be on each other, on Diamond Mine, and not, fretting about, these two guys respecting them. I get that. I get her perspective. It makes sense. It also makes sense from, a woman, that she's not into the whole macho thing that the Creed brothers are into. The Creed brothers and Indus-Sher, they're getting into this whole macho back and forth thing. But, she is on the outside of that, so she doesn't really care. So I like the storyline. I do want to see how it goes in terms of how is it going to lead to the Diamond Mine official breakup, like with Ivy Nile leaving the group. So, but I did mind the storyline elements of it, but the match, I don't know if I needed that. I don't know if we truly needed to have Julius Creed lose to Jinder Mahal on this show. I just don't know if we needed that. All right. So Pretty Deadly, they were forced to go next, even though they weren't ready. They were expecting to wrestle later in the show, but because because the Creed brothers and Indus-Sher was postponed, the Pretty Deadly had to go and fight next. So Pretty Deadly start out the gauntlet, and they say that they chose 3 tough opponents. Basically, they got to choose their own opponents. So they chose 2 job guys who came out to the Rockers theme. Now this was fun because Booker T is talking about the job guys. He's talking them up. Like, I can't even remember their names, but he was talking about them like they're awesome. And he's talking about he tried to book these guys in Reality of Wrestling, but they were entirely too busy. Their schedules was way too full. And then by the time he got done with that statement, they hadn't gotten squashed and pinned. Vic Joseph is trying to call Booker T out on this huge lie. But, the match was over essentially before he really got a chance to get anything out. New Day came out there and said they want to let them slide, picking their own opponents. So they picked 2 opponents for them. The first was Idris Enofe and Malik Blade. So that led to a really good match between Pretty Deadly, Idris Enofe, and Malik Blade. This was pretty good. Pretty Deadly won the match. Idris Enofe and Malik Blade are still coming along. I like these guys. Good personality. They need something to do. They can talk. They have personality. They just need something to do. They need deeply meaningful characters, and they need something to do. I don't know. They just need something to do. So, New Day congratulated Pretty Deadly on their victory, and then announced their next opponents, which were Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs. We go backstage where Briggs and Jensen are beat up and down, and then they are replaced by Gallus, Wolfgang, and Mark Coffey, who then come out and just beat the tar out of Pretty Deadly and win. So Pretty Deadly went through all this effort of saying that they're going to fight in a gauntlet match, only to lose to Gallus. And so Gallus then squared up with the New Day after the match, while Pretty Deadly stood in the ring kind of sad. Pretty Deadly, for those of you who may not have been paying attention, they have been working main roster house shows already. And it's indicative by their new theme song, which I like their old theme, but the new theme song is fine, I guess. But they've been working house shows, which says that pretty much they're probably on the verge of being called up. And I'm okay with that. Gallus winning, I like Gallus. They come across like, the Brawling Brute stole their gimmick. Like it is what it is. But I like Gallus, and Gallus and New Day should be fun. Of course, I expect New Day to win, but Gallus and New Day at least should be fun. Hopefully we'll get to see Pretty Deadly on SmackDown at some point in time in the future. Or, hopefully they never go to Raw, because Raw has a way of just destroying talent. It's just embarrassing half the time. Trick and Mello are writing in their diary. Trick was wearing a lucha mask and said he couldn't see in it. Then he also told Mello that they didn't need to write anything down. They're just going to speak their greatness into existence, which I liked. I thought that was good. Later, Apollo Crews and Axiom talked about how these two guys talk too much, and Apollo Crews felt like he would never hear the end Carmelo Hayes talking about beating him. So they decided to form a tag team in order to fight Trick and Mello, which, everybody with 2 eyeballs could have saw that coming. All right, so 10 days into the new year can finally start as Tiffany Stratton makes her entrance, her big return with her new boobs, and her new theme song and intro are really good. It feels main roster, it feels major. But her promo was not good, I think. Not good. Anyway, she's talking about how every woman backstage is sweating like a pig now that she's back, and that she picked up the business faster than anyone, and she's been watching people fail to replace her because no one has her shine, her style, or her skill, and that she is the center of the universe. Now, it sounds a lot clearer and a lot more precise because I cut out a lot of the weird pauses, and of course the weird character voice that she has. And you could tell, like, for at least 5 or 6 seconds during this thing, she actually forgot what she was supposed to say. But ultimately, I do like Tiffany Stratton. I just don't think this was a great representation of who she is. I love the presentation, though. The presentation was great. Her not being in the Battle Royal to lose was great. Her just making her reappearance is perfectly fine. I just, we could have worked on the promo a little bit. Maybe she got nervous because she had to do a standing walk around promo, even though she just kind of stood and stared at the camera. But she did have at least character. The voice is still there because they're moving away from Daddy's Little Rich Girl kind of character, which I'm guessing is a good thing, maturing that character a little bit. So that's good. So the new presentation is great. She looks great. We know that she can work and she can do that. We just need to work on her promo skill. And maybe we need to, get rid of that accent. I don't feel like it's a natural accent to her. And the thing about accents are, if you don't keep them up, it almost inevitable comes back with where's your accent? Let's just let her talk how she talks. But maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying, but there's other ways of conveying the same information, in a way that you want with this character without it being accented and sounding stilted, kind of like the promos that she did today. But ultimately, she's in NXT for a reason. She's not ready to be called to the main roster yet because she's not that good on the promos yet. She's got it down. All right. The third match on the show, buried in the middle, Brian Breaker defeats Grayson Waller by countout. So the interesting thing here is that the crowd was a pro-Waller crowd with people chanting, Brian Breaker sucks, Brian Breaker sucks, and plenty of cheers for Grayson Waller. The story of the match, Grayson Waller was hanging in there. He was doing whatever he needed to do to hang in that joint. The middle rope broke via an Irish whip at one point. This was a commercial spot. They did a bulldog from the top rope, which is the Steiner Brothers finishing move, but Grayson Waller did not take it right. He took it on his knees. He just didn't, take a flat stomach bump. He instead took it on his knees and flipped over. I don't know why he did that, but he did. So, whatever. So, Grayson Waller is standing on the middle rope to deliver, I'm guessing, a springboard elbow or something, and then the middle rope breaks. He falls out of the ring and gets counted out. So, they at least set the story up. It's not like, when Finn Balor had the rope break on him and it came out of absolute nowhere. And everyone's looking like, why did this happen? Who did this? This came across like the ring was faulty and, maybe the ropes were loose or something like that. And they fixed it, but it's still, even though you try to fix something, it still isn't perfect. And then it just kind of buckled again at an inopportune time. That's how it came across. A very odd finish. It was creative. I didn't hate it because Grayson Waller absolutely should have won the title, but they might want to do it on a bigger stage, which takes us to the show closing segment where HBK wants a definitive winner between these two. Therefore, he's going to throw them inside of a steel cage at Vengeance Day. So what we thought was going to be Carmelo Hayes versus Braun Breaker, which what it should have been, if we're being honest, ends up being Grayson Waller versus Braun Breaker inside of a steel cage at Vengeance Day. It says a lot that Grayson Waller is the guy I guess they're going to go with, because I'm guessing 60 to 70%. Grayson Waller wins the title, maybe with some outside help. But not going with Hayes. I don't know. Maybe they're going to call Hayes up sooner than they're going to call up Waller. But it's an interesting decision to make. Grayson Waller did media for the show. I didn't know that he actually played Ric Flair on Young Rock. Nobody ever told me about that. But apparently they wanted him to play Ric Flair again. He turned it down because he wanted to focus on NXT. And something tells me that probably wasn't real. For starters, he has an Australian accent. So, but then again, Young Rock is uniquely awful with the characters. So maybe they did have Grayson Waller play Ric Flair and he was, "Oi, mate. Woo, I'm Ric Flair, mate, look at me." And that was about it, I don't know. Also, I don't believe anybody turned down a job with NBC just to do NXT. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that one. That one was a stretch. It's a stretch. Okay. Hank Walker was defeated by Charlie Dempsey. They told a decent story here with Hank Walker landing an armbar on Charlie Dempsey that Charlie Dempsey didn't see coming. Of course, Charlie Dempsey was able to counter it, but it's a good story because Hank Walker he's Joe Everyman who's trying to become a wrestler. Booker T did a great job on commentary here too, being offended at Hank Walker's attempts to be a wrestler by saying he doesn't appreciate that somebody wants to jump off their couch and do what he's trained to do his entire life. So I like that. That's a nice little color from Booker T that added a lot to the story. That really made you feel bad for Hank Walker because even, Booker T doesn't like him. So that was interesting. So we got a bunch of vignettes for tonight too. We got a vignette for Tyler Bates, who is returning next week. Hopefully he has a character. It doesn't seem like it though. We got Stevie Turner, who was one of the few women from NXT UK who was not fired. She's apparently going to be doing a Twitch streamer podcaster style gimmick where she's talking about streaming. She's a streamer. In NXT UK, she was doing a futuristic gimmick where basically she would, I don't know if I would say cyberpunk. I don't know if that would be the case, but her gimmick was based off her being very futuristic. This feels very current day. It feels very current day. Now, like Stevie Turner wasn't overexposed on NXT UK, and she never really worked her gimmick, I guess you could say. Like she never was like, I would say magical in nature or anything like that. It was just that, Stevie Turner was futuristic. Like she existed on another plane or something like that. But that was mostly just her thought process. She always thought ahead of, and they kind of brought some of that into this gimmick, while she says that she's always 2 levels above and 3 steps ahead. So I'm interested in where they're going. This is the first time I ever heard the girl's voice. Like legit. I never heard her voice when she was in NXT UK. So the first thing they do here is give her a vignette where she can talk. I'm fine with that. This is all very well and good. Ought to be interesting to see where she fits on this roster. She's just another sort of current day girl who comes across like another Cora Jade, And I know I kind of forgot to mention at the top of the show that Cora Jade got into some heat for saying Sky Blue was ripping her off. I'm not going to be one to say that one ripped the other one off. I will say that they are very, very similar, however. The two characters, well, they both look similar. Both girl next doors who look like they skateboard or, hang out in the comic book shop or whatever, and it's have a similar look. I don't know that Sky Blue ripped Cora Jade off. I don't know if that's the case, but they do look similar, and I think they're around the same age. I think maybe Cora Jade is probably like 18 months older or something like that. It's not that much, if anything. Also, Cora Jade did change her character when she came to NXT. She looked differently when she was on the Independence, when she was kind of doing some goth girl gimmick that she was doing. She was carrying around caskets or whatever. So she was doing something a little bit different than when she was doing in NXT. I wouldn't say that Sky Blue ripped her off, but I do think that the AEW fan base who attacked Cora Jade for saying that Sky Blue ripped her off was being unnecessarily sensitive. They were being very, very sensitive and being very protective of their version of Cora Jade, which is Sky Blue. But Sky Blue is good in her own way. She's very cute, and they play up the fact that she's very cute. And that's why she's over. She's not over for any other reason. She's not really featured on the show at all. She doesn't cut promos at all. She doesn't do anything entertaining at all. So it's just kind of like, oh, Sky Blue is the kind of girl who would, kiss me on the forehead. And if we met in real life, she would be really nice to me. And, that's weird. And, but also, it was fine. I know a lot of people tried to jump on the Cora J hate wagon. I knew it was going to blow over, and it did. But there's similarities between the two characters, but I don't see it being a big deal. I don't think that one ripped off the other. I just think that sometimes people have similar looks, and they can't help it. They can't help how their face is built. So, and they work in two different companies anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's not like, the Renegade and the Ultimate Warrior. It's not like that type of situation, so it's not that big of a deal. All right, so NXT New Year's Evil was not nearly as good as it could have been. I think that it was overbooked. Too many booking errors. Still solid. Just, I don't know. I didn't really care for the show. Sorry. But there's a lot to talk about. So I'll talk to you guys later, man. Like, share, subscribe, join the Discord. And peace.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.